I made a promise to this buyer, and today I live up to it. Welcome back, Troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. That's right, we've got a bulk unboxing episode tonight of epic proportions. We need to talk about this thing again. So about 7 months ago, we reviewed one of the most bizarre Les Paul custom shops to happen in a while. It had no binding, it had unique inlays, it had this crazy exotic sparkly white finish that you could really only fully appreciate in person, and it was only for sale at the Gibson garage. So naturally, I purchased that thing because it needed to be documented. An unbound Les Paul custom? It's blasphemous and cool. I ended up selling it to a viewer of the show who's bought quite a few things from me. He likes to collect really high-end, nice guitars. But when he got it, unfortunately, it was damaged. Now, it didn't look like a full break. It just had some finish checking and what looked like the usual smiley face. It's one of those breaks where you kind of have to break it further even to fix it, so you'd have to enjoy it as is. But obviously, it would have some effect to the value. And since I have insurance, I filed a claim, and due to the fact that I have UPS Capital Insurance, there's a big difference between that and regular carrier insurance, we actually got a payout. However, the downside to that is the insurance claim wanted to cut us a check, and then they would take it and do whatever they do. We had asked Gibson if they would be able to recreate this guitar. Now, unfortunately, Gibson told us, nope, that is a 100% one-off, we're not doing it again. I later found out who had spec'd this one out and who had painted it, and one of them no longer worked with the company, so that might have been it, or it could have just been, hey, we're not doing another unbound body. So he was really wanting to keep this guitar, but unfortunately, UPS took it for their inspection, they cut us the check. But I knew, usually when insurance takes hold of something, they send it off to be repaired, and then you'll find it at some liquidation auction eventually. So I promised the buyer I would keep my eye out, and I asked my followers to keep their eyes peeled because there's many different liquidation auctions. So the buyer just let me keep the money for the time being, and it wasn't until June 5th that he gave up and he took ownership of the Ghost Les Paul because he just thought it was all done. But here we are, 3 months later, we found it. At a liquidation auction, nonetheless. And we've got to give credit to Dean Westover. He was the first one to send me an email about it. So I was able to do my thing and secure this guitar, which the bidding certainly got fierce. But even more damage here. They didn't take our switch tip off, so it's broken into a million pieces. But I'm really curious to see how this headstock crack has fared being shipped around a couple of different times. I never got to see it for myself the first time, it was just always secondhand photos. So based on what he had sent me before, it doesn't really look like it has changed too much. Which is good because that means they probably had somebody professionally assess this and go, yeah, you really can't fix that yet unless you just want to completely break the headstock. And I think if somebody did want to do that and then repair it, being able to match this really strange sparkly finish is going to be so tough. You're almost just going to have to go for like a sparkle white stinger, but then you'll have to find a way not to cover your serial number. So this one's just got such a cool story behind it now. Reviewed and documented, cool one-off, sold, got broken, had to wait 7+ months for it to eventually show back up again, win the auction and beat all odds. And now we need to together call Edwin and see if he still wants his guitar. It's either going to be a great phone call or it's going to be awkward when he's like, oh, I kind of gave up on that.
Hello?
Hey, Edwin, I found your guitar.
No way.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable. How could you have found it? In the big world of insurance claims, how on earth could you have found that?
Through the help of a viewer. You still want it back, you're happy with it as is, right?
Yeah. Here's stable. Like I said, I was so apprehensive about letting it go for an insurance claim in the first place. You know, I know that if it ever does break, they'll have to do something with the paint.
Well, wasn't that just fun? I always love it when stories have a happy ending like this. I knew it was just a matter of time before this thing showed back up. And you want to know what's really funny? They sent it back in my exact packaging. That's my fragile tape, and that's even before I opened it. But at least they double boxed it to reinforce it. So yes, good has been done here. It will be sent back and restored to its proper owner. But let's go ahead and move on to our next guitar after a word from our sponsor, Sweetwater. Sweetwater's a great place to buy your stuff, but it's not just guitars. You can also buy amps, effects pedals, patch leads, whatever you need for general music making. They are your place and they're happy to ship it to your door, or you can visit their Fort Wayne, Indiana location. And if you happen to be local to their campus, they have tons of events all the time. They also do monthly giveaways that you can follow the link in the description to become a part of. Thank you, Sweetwater, for being a continuous sponsor of my show. Now let's get back to our guitar that showed up on Reverb one night. Was just too good of a deal to pass up. And on top of that, I haven't seen this color in person before, and for whatever reason, I never realized the original collection offered it. Oh boy, that's a giant case. So it must be something that we don't always unbox on the show. It's a cherry red Firebird. Check that out. I always love the vintage cherry ones. If I remember correctly, it's technically a custom color, but it just looks so good with their mahogany wood grain. It's like SG mixed with Firebird. Check out that awesomely dark fretboard. That's a nice one. And we just recently documented an original collection Firebird in the Tobacco Sunburst finish, so I figured it's too soon to re-review it, but we definitely have to check it out, at least on the unboxing portion of the show. Because this is the version where it's still the neck-through construction, so it goes through the body. Your neck is all one big piece here, but it's got the Grover tuners. Now, it's cruise control for cool when you have the banjo style, but at the same time, it makes the headstock really heavy. Some guys don't like turning it from the back. They would rather just have it on the side. Personally, I kind of like the way the banjos feel on the back, but you're just prone to whacking it against something and then snapping your headstock off. But if you happen to have missed that last episode, the original collection Firebirds were actually quietly discontinued. And it's rumored that they might come back in a slightly different form, like maybe not the neck-through construction. They might toy around with the set neck versions again. And since they've played with the 50s and 60s standard colors, I could totally see them just revamping the lineup. It makes more sense for them to change things around rather than adjust prices, and then people are like, oh, these were $500 cheaper just 2 years ago. But this one is from the year 2020. But overall, this bird has a little bit of wear on the back, like some impressions and scratches. I saw some pick scratches here, so if you're interested in taking this one home, you can find it on my website, troglysguitarshow.com. I'll try to have a condition overview video of it to help you make a judgment. And hey, speaking of Sweetwater, I actually ordered something for my workbench because recently I've been experimenting with using a Dremel for fret polishing. My first experience within the Tray Tuesday series, I thought I did something really wrong, but then I tried it again. I thought the results were okay. A lot of times I still prefer my hand polish, but I found using this in combination with the Frying fret polish, we did a sponsored review and demo of this almost a year ago on a Union Jack Explorer. I found this combination works really well, but using this single fret guard was getting kind of tedious. So that's why I thought I would give this thing a try. In theory, I should be able to put this on the fretboard. Looks like they have some rubber bands to keep it in place, but then I can slather all the frets and then go to town with my Dremel so it's not going back and forth between the steps. My biggest concern is that these are always kind of like one size fits all. So like, is your fretboard still going to get dirty in between the slots? Because some guitars have super jumbo frets, other ones are kind of small. You also have to take into account scale length. Like this is the G electric for most of the Gibson scale length ones. So we'll see how this goes. They are Music Nomad products if you're looking for them. Sweetwater does sell these if you're interested, but watch my next few reviews and demos. I'll probably give you an update on how I feel about this product. Next up, we've got another small package. So we'll just have to open it up and see what's in here. It appears to be another small package. Present time, present time. Open the present, see what's inside. Well, I can honestly say I would have never guessed it was my Dirty Fingers electronics in that one. I like the way he did this. This is awesome. I view this as like a museum quality display, but instead of using cardboard, maybe you could use like a pickguard material that's just like extra thick. That's actually really cool. So I found this on eBay. It was an open auction, and I knew exactly what it was as soon as I saw it. Like, this is still perfectly connected, wired up. This had to have come from one of the higher end Sonex models that has the coil split and the upgraded Dirty Fingers pickups. We just recently documented that. So you can use this in other guitars. You just got to take that brass plate off or use your 3-screw setup. So I thought it was well worth bidding to win just for those. And the fact that it came with the original electronics it's a mild bonus. They're not the best in these Sonex guitars, but hey, this is a really cool little display board. So if you're interested in these, you can let me know. Otherwise, I just don't mind having these laying around. You can always use vintage Dirty Fingers pickups. But look at this beautiful, excessive, awesome pack job. Our next story is not as good. So our next package shipped to me like this. I had made a bulk offer for a bunch of Gibson paperwork from a seller. He wasn't interested, which is fine. It's just whenever I'm interested in something, I try to make a big offer to buy out a lot of stuff because memorabilia that's paper has a very limited buyer pool. So the first item I picked up here was a Gibson price list. I had never seen this before. Like on the Trade Tuesday series, we've documented the big paper booklet that didn't necessarily have the prices. This one actually has the prices within them and the same photos that we're used to seeing in the other one. So I thought, yeah, I need that for my collection. That's actually kind of cool. But he also had another small paper sheet that I was interested in. It was this Gibson Explorer Studio. I've recently been documenting these and everything, and it was listed as like excellent condition, no big rips or tears. So I thought, great, okay, it's $20, a bit much for a piece of paper, but whatever. But he had sent it with this on top of it with nothing protecting it. So now I've got these giant divots in it. And it's like, come on, man. I paid money for that to be in good condition. So now when you're in my museum and see this creased piece of paper, at least now you know the story. And I think we've got time for one last unboxing of parts. This time is a package from Canada. I found these on eBay. I made an offer. He countered. I made a new one. I think then he countered. And then I was like, hey, check out my Les Paul Artisan on my eBay page. We kind of looked through some stuff, come close to making a deal. But at the end of the day, we got these. They're not new old stock, but they're the Gibson Schaller tuners with these solid tips. You can always have a set of these things lying around because they were used on so many models. And the most important thing is these things stand the test of time. They are the nicest tuners that were probably ever made. And these things are like 50 plus years old. It's amazing. But the reason I had initially reached out to him is his photo only showed 4 tuners. So I was like, is that a complete set or not? And that's when he let me know about his other guitars. He had some cool things. We were just unfortunately a little bit too far apart with the exchange rates. But all right, troglodytes, I think that wraps it up for today. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you tomorrow on the next episode. Take care. If you enjoyed tonight's episode, consider subscribing. I post videos like this every day. And you might even enjoy this next one.